Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So if you all remember from last week, I worked on painting this little flower box and this little park bench. And I said that these two pieces weren't completely finished. And the reason for that is because this week I'm going to be creating a miniature environment. And so starting off, I'm using this piece of wood that's really thin that my father cut out and gave to me. And so I'm just sanding all the edges and the surface of both sides of the wood just to ensure that I won't get any splinters while handling this thing. And since I'm going to be gluing things on top of the wood, I made sure to sand the top surface of it just to be sure that the glue will adhere to the wood better. And now I'm just pulling out all the pieces that I'm going to be using for this environment. I'm using some fake flowers and fake grass I got from the dollar store, and these little stone tiling pieces. They were leftover pieces from a project that my dad was doing at a house that he was renovating, and so he brought them home and gave them to me to see what I could do with them since he knows I'm really creative. And so I'm going to be including them in with this project. And so I'm starting off by cutting off all the plastic backing that holds the pieces together, since I want to be able to move them around more freely. And so once all the stone pieces were ready, I started placing them around the wood just to try to map out the idea I had in my head. But this idea ends up changing a couple of times, especially with the rock placement. I rearranged it, I believe, 2 more times before I'm finally ready to start gluing them down. And so now that I think I have my idea ready, I start by getting out these 2 grass mats that I bought. And looking back on it now, I probably should have just glued the grass, or fake grass, all over the wood before I started planning anything out. And these little pads of grass were probably a better idea than just the actual grass. It was a lot messier just using the regular grass, which is what I end up using for most of it. But my process for going through and gluing everything down is I'm using regular hot glue, since I didn't want to have to wait a long time for it to dry if I use something stronger like 36000. And I wanted to make sure that it would bond, so I didn't want to use anything like school glue. But I just used regular hot glue and I glued off sections and then just kind of piled on pieces of the grass. And then once it would be dry, I would kind of just like scratch or pull off the excess pieces and reuse it into other parts and fill out the whole space. That method, although it was very messy, it did help to make sure everything was leveled and everything would be all one plane level and would ensure that there weren't as many holes or pieces missing. And I did also glue the park bench and the little flower box with hot glue as well at the bottom. In my original idea, I wasn't going to put grass underneath the stones, but I didn't like how the stones left lots of holes in between them and you can see the plain wood. And so because of that, I decided it would be better to just go ahead and put the grass underneath them. So in case my idea isn't really like being pieced together in your mind, the miniature environment that I'm trying to make is a park scene. I wanted to create like a little environment in the park where you have the little bench and the walkway leading up to the little park bench there that you can sit and relax in the park, in nature and everything. I'm not too sure how well this is really conveying that environment. And I will say I burned myself many times while gluing this. I'm not a big fan of hot glue because of all the strings that are left behind and the fact that I'm always burning myself while using it, but it did serve its purpose in this project, so overall it was a good idea. And so now I'm going to be using these fake flowers, these hydrangeas, I believe is how you say that name, to just fill up the little flower box with a little bird. And now I'm gluing in the last few pieces of the rocks in place. Now again, in hindsight, I probably should have used something stronger to glue the rock pieces in their position in place, just because I don't think hot glue is what's recommended to glue in these kinds of things. But in the end, this is how the environment is looking, with the flower box filled in and everything all glued together. And at this point in time, I haven't sealed it or put any Mod Podge or anything to protect and keep everything together, except for the regular glue holding everything together. And so I'm going to be using these two spray sealants. One of them that is for more outdoor and indoor projects than just a regular sealant. I'm going to spray the whole project with both of the sealants and letting them dry in between coats, just to make sure that everything is sealed in its place, that the grass won't be falling out as time passes, and to protect the paint job that I did last week on the park bench and the flower box. And although you can't really tell, especially in the grass, it did have a semi-gloss finish. And so this is how the miniature environment looks after it was sprayed. It honestly doesn't look that much different, but it does give me a lot more security that it will be a lot more long lasting this way. And I did, using Sharpie, put my initials and the date on the bottom of it. And now you must be asking, okay, this is an environment, cool, whatever, but why did you go about and waste all this time creating this? And my reason for that is, as you can see, I've been collecting lots of materials for doll customizing. The yarn, Mr. Super Clear sealants, and even some dolls I already have ready. And so the reason I went about creating this miniature environment is that after I finish customizing dolls, it would be a good place for pictures, a good prop for pictures, if you will. And so like you can see here with this doll that I haven't customized yet, it's a nice little prop to place with the dolls to take pictures with. And although I'm not yet ready to start doll customizing, I'm getting really close to being ready. And so I wanted to have something ready, a nice prop, a nice, set to be able to take pictures with the dolls that I do customize. I have started practicing, as you can see, with this dress and these clothing items that I've been working on. And so I really wanted to create this little environment to be able to have as a prop for pictures, both indoors and outdoors. And speaking of outdoors, it was a really nice day when I finished this project, so I thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and start practicing taking some pictures outside and to take some pictures with the props. And so here are some pictures that I took outside of my house with the miniature environment that I did. Overall, this process was a little difficult with the mess and everything and the hot glue, but I did enjoy it a lot. It was a process of 2 weeks of painting the pieces and gluing and assembling the environment. And overall, I'm really satisfied with how it turned out. I think it's going to be great for when I start doll customizing and when I start taking the pictures and everything. I hope you all enjoyed this video and like how the little environment came out. Thank you all so much for watching, and God bless you.